OpenAI just released what it's calling its economic blueprint. This is a policy proposal for how the US should develop and regulate AI. This blueprint makes a pretty bold claim that there is approximately $175 billion in global funds waiting to be invested in AI projects. They also argue that if the US does not attract these funds, China will. To prevent this, OpenAI proposes a comprehensive national strategy that includes developing AI economic zones, creating research labs aligned with local industries, and building what they call a national AI infrastructure highway, a network of power and communication grids specifically designed to support AI development. OpenAI also recommends that the federal government, in consultation with industry, should take the lead in developing, quote, alternatives to the, quote, growing patchwork of state and international regulations that risk hindering American competitiveness. This blueprint also wades into controversial territory around copyright and AI training data. OpenAI argues that AI developers should be able to use, quote, publicly available information, including copyrighted content, to develop their models. And this all comes at an interesting time. We'll talk about this as well in the next topic, but OpenAI CEO Sam Altman has scheduled a closed door AI briefing for US government officials on January 30th. Paul, why are we getting this blueprint now? And maybe talk a little bit or tee up a little bit. What's the deal with the closed door briefing for lawmakers? Is it about this? Is it about something else?
We've been talking a lot about infrastructure, especially in the last like 6 to 8 months on the podcast. I think we've been, trying to introduce that topic for people who maybe aren't paying as close attention to that side of AI. It's very fundamental to what happens next, and so it's not new. I mean, OpenAI has been very aggressively meeting with lawmakers for the last couple of years. There's been lots of conversation around trying to make U.S. a leader in the build out of data centers and the infrastructure to power AI. But I think with the new administration coming in, everyone's lining up to sort of get their messaging in place and build the relationships they need to build and have a say in kind of what happens next. So my guess is the January 30th meeting is just a timing. The new administration is,
Hmm.
coming into power today in America. January 20th will be the inauguration. So 2 weeks from now, you've got, Congress, Senate, president. Everybody's kind of set up now, and it's time to get to work. So the thing that was interesting to me here is, as a kind of like journalism school major, I always drill into data points to figure out where's this coming from, because this whole thing is basically centered on this 175 billion.
Hmm.
And so in the second paragraph, they say shared prosperity is as near and measurable as the new jobs and growth that will come from building more AI infrastructure like data centers, chip manufacturing facilities, and power plants. As our CEO Sam Altman has written, AI will soon help our children do things we can't, not far off in the future, in which everyone's lives can be better than anyone's life is now. So I think this is interesting because there's a lot of concern that I have shared many times on this podcast that AI is going to displace jobs. I believe that very deeply. I think this is the setup for how these companies make the government believe there's a net positive outcome if the government invests properly in infrastructure. Um, so the 175 billion. So in that opening paragraph it says new jobs and growth. If you click on that link, it actually takes you to the September 2024 OpenAI report called Infrastructure is Destiny: Economic Returns on U.S. Investment in Democratic AI, which I assume we talked about at that time. This would have been September of 24, so I'm guessing we at least mentioned that. I didn't go back and look and see the extent to which we talked about it. So when you go into that report, though, for September 2024, this is the source of the 175 billion. It says capital spending on AI already rivals the mainframe era of the late 1960s and the fiber optic deployment of the late 1990s, with an estimated 175 billion in global infrastructure funds waiting to be committed.
Hmm.
Now, that report cites, in the citation for the 175 billion, actually comes from Houlihan Lokey Digital Infrastructure Industry Update Q2 2024. I have never heard of Houlihan Lokey. I had not gone to that report prior to this. It's a pretty dense report on digital infrastructure, but OpenAI is citing Houlihan Lokey to come up with 175 billion. And when you drill into like that 175 billion, it you need like the O1 reasoning model from OpenAI to understand how they come up with that number. But the whole point here is like, don't just accept data on face value. Like too much, I think we've gotten to the point in Twitter and social media and like even mainstream media does it to a degree. Everyone latches on to these numbers with no concept of where the number actually originated from or how like legitimate that number is. I am not saying the 175 billion isn't reasonably accurate. I'm not even saying it's not underestimated, that it's not a
Mm,
trillion. I have no idea. But this is kind of where we follow it. So then so now you understand like OpenAI is basically building on top of other people's research data to justify the opportunity that exists. Now, in the Infrastructure as Destiny OpenAI report, that basically laid out how data center build out will create all of these jobs in America and accelerate the growth of GDP, gross domestic product. So in that report, it says that each 5 gigawatt data center will have 2 million GPUs. So NVIDIA will be very happy because 2 million GPUs per data center. Each one will cost $100 billion in 2028 dollars to build. So they're already projecting out 3 years from now. And it'll create 14,000 construction jobs and 40 billion in annual revenue per data center. Then to operate those data centers, you're looking at an estimated 4,000 employees per data center. So the whole point of this is they think data centers, which are needed to build the future AI models and deliver all the AI that we need at inference time, all this intelligence we need at inference time when you and I use our smartphones and use ChatGPT and things like that, is a really big deal. And it's going to be a massive driver of employment and GDP, specifically in the states where the data centers are built. And that Infrastructure is Destiny report from OpenAI actually breaks down by state how much money could be generated, how much GDP could grow, and how many jobs could be created in those states. So I think that the basic premise here is they're making this massive bet on infrastructure. They believe they're going to build insanely intelligent models and that those models are going to need more and more data centers. Now, in the blueprint, the one other aspect is they start like connecting this to the past. And I thought this was really interesting historical context. I hadn't read about this prior, but they talk about how like when cars were first invented in the UK actually put something in called the 1865 Red Flag Act. When a car was coming down the street, they had a flag bearer that had to walk in front of the car to warn people that the car was coming and that the car had to move aside in favor of horse-drawn transport.
hmm,
So they're sharing this as like a lesson of let's not overregulate things. Let's like accept that change happens and it may look weird at first, but that we shouldn't actually restrict this. That's what's happening in the EU. They're saying like we can't go that path. We have to push forward. Chips, data, energy, and talent are the focus of it. And then the one other note that I think is really interesting, the economic blueprint, the actual full-blown report that we'll link to, states in the very opening, OpenAI's mission is to ensure that artificial intelligence benefits everyone. This is the first time I've actually seen them drop general from that. They usually say
mm,
artificial general intelligence. To us, that means building AI that helps people solve hard problems because helping with the hard problems, AI can benefit the most people possible. Now, the timing here is interesting, Mike, because you and I had touched on this, but O3 is built to solve hard problems. Like these reasoning models aren't for the average user to go in and ask like about a summary of sports events from last night or do some basic research. These things are designed to solve hard math and science problems. So the MIT Technology Review comes out with an article that says OpenAI has created an AI model for longevity science. In that article, it says when you think of AI's contributions to science, you probably think of AlphaFold, the Google DeepMind protein folding program that earned its creator a Nobel Prize last year. Now OpenAI says it's getting into science game too with a model for engineering proteins. Company says it has developed a language model that dreams up proteins capable of turning regular cells into stem cells, and that has handily beat humans at the task. The work represents OpenAI's first model focused on biological data and its first public claim that its models can deliver unexpected scientific results. If you remember, the 5 levels of AI at OpenAI, number 4 is innovators,
Hmm.
creating new solutions to problems, basically. As such, it is a step forward determining whether or not AI can make true discoveries, which some argue is a major test on the pathway to AGI. The Protein Engineering Project started a year ago when Retro Biosciences, a longevity research company based in San Fran, approached OpenAI about working together. That link up did not happen by chance. Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, personally funded Retro with $180 million, as MIT Technology Review first reported in 2023. Retro's goal is to extend the normal human lifespan by 10 years. So I think that a lot of things are happening here. One is the new administration and OpenAI trying to kind of stake their claim and influence it. Two is they truly believe infrastructure is destiny, that to achieve the kind of intelligence they plan to achieve and to have the impact on the world they want to have, they need to build this infrastructure out. Three, they're seeing massive gains in their reasoning models, like O1 moving into O3 and eventually O4. And they see the ability for these things to start solving really hard problems in society. And I think they want to prepare the government and the world for that, which I believe they think is very near to happening. That was a
Hmm.
lot.
Funnily enough, the only thought I could keep thinking while I'm looking at this January 30th meeting is Sam Altman better not show up and suddenly Elon's in the room too.
Oh, I trust me. I was thinking about that all weekend. There's no way Elon's not in the room, which
Right.
is going to be the weirdest. I would like. I
It's gonna get
pray that that
awkward.
is somehow broadcast. Like I saw the pre-party for the inauguration last night. There was a clip on Twitter I saw of Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk standing there talking to each other,
Hmm.
which we won't get into the whole history of those two, but they've been very oddly friendly on Twitter lately. Like Bezos's Blue Origin rocket company successfully put something into orbit last week, and Elon actually tweeted like, "Congratulations, great job." Jeff then replied, "Hey, great job to you too." It's like something weird is happening. Like the two richest people in the world are now like turning into buddies. It seems, and yes, like. I keep thinking like Elon is going to be in whatever meeting Sam is at, and I don't know that those two have been together in person
Yeah.
in a room where they have to speak to each other for a long time.